and welcome to the DNX podcast. My name is Sylvia Chrisman, and I'm here today with Adam Clarke, and I'm super excited that we get to talk to you today and learn a little bit more about SEO. But before we do that, Adam, hi, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me on. Glad to be here.
Yeah, of course. I'm super excited about this. Tell me, before we talk about SEO, like, where in the world are you right now? And how long have you been there?
Right now, I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I have been here for 14 months. And I have, before that, I lived in Bangkok for 2 years.
Awesome.
But in the meantime, I've traveled to so many countries I can't remember. So all around SE Asia, I've been to Philippines, I've been to Malaysia, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, lots of places. But I've been largely based in Thailand.
Yeah.
Because I, just out of interest, learned.
I'm a huge fan of Thailand. I mean, every time I hear the word Thailand, my heart just goes, oh, yes, it's one of my favorite places in the world.
Yes.
I have lots and lots of friends there, and I think it's just the culture, the people, the landscape. I like being there, I like working there, and they also have fantastic Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the internet's great, and the people are even better. And the crazy thing I find about Thailand is every time when I go out of the country and I find myself coming back on the airplane, I have this feeling like I'm coming home, like a big relaxed feeling as the plane goes onto the tarmac. I'm like, no, I'm back at home. I'm back in Thailand. Oh, this is so great.
I know. I feel the same way. I mean, I've been spending, anywhere between 3 to 4 or 5 months a year in Thailand or, and across Southeast Asia, but primarily Thailand since 2010. And not this year, but usually I'm there. And it's literally that feeling I get when I hit the airport in Bangkok and I get this sort of like, oh, welcome home, like it feels so good to be there.
Yes.
And I know my way around so well and the culture that it just feels like second nature to me at this point, completely.
Yeah, you're definitely the type of people who make you feel so at home. And actually, I have a crazy story about the first time I came to Thailand, actually.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, it was the first time that I tried the digital nomad thing, and being a productivity, what's the word? Being a bit crazy about productivity. I don't watch the news. I don't read the news. And so it just so happened that I flew into Bangkok for my first time, and it was the same time when the military coup happened and the military were taking over the government. And I was staying in a nice hotel. I knew nothing about this. And my family called me up saying, hey, Adam, we're reading the papers here saying that the tanks are rolling into Bangkok. And there's the military coup going on. They're taking over the government. Everything's shut down. You should probably think about getting out of there. It could get dangerous because the headlines in Australia were saying like really bad. And I actually I got scared.
I remember that. I was there too.
Yeah, I got scared, and I actually felt afraid to leave the hotel room for like half a day. It kind of freaked me out. And then after about 12 hours, I thought, you know what, screw this. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go to the protests and see what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I went out there, and it was like a giant music festival.
Yeah.
It was just like New Year's. People were like coming up to me, asking me where I'm from, taking photos with me, and people selling food. There was music playing, and that's the Thai style of
protesting.
Protest.
I know. I was there too, and I had a similar experience. That people were calling me, and they're just like, isn't it dangerous? And I was like, no, I'm having a great time.
Yeah,
meeting new people, learning about the culture. Like, no, it's all good. I don't know where this footage comes from, but it's not coming from where I'm standing. I'm having a really great time here.
Yeah, it's just a good example of how the media changes things to sell more newspapers.
Oh yeah, totally. Totally.
And also an example of how great Thai people are in general.
Yeah. Oh, they just are. They're just across the board. Their sense of humor is incredible. And I can't remember last time I laughed as much as I did with my Thai friends. Everything is just, I don't know.
That's so funny.
They have a lightness of being I really admire. And I think I fundamentally needed for my happiness and my existence to spend time within that cultural context, because it gives me that lightness of being in the sense of, not taking myself seriously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely feel it, I think. It's just like can't really describe it. It's just a different vibe, I guess they call it. The Thai, what do they say? This is Thailand, or the Mai Pen Rai attitude.
Mm-hmm.
It just means like no problems, no worries. Everything moves slowly, but that's okay. Have a smile and be friendly. That's the culture.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love it. I hear you. One of my favorite places in the world, Southeast Asia in general, really speaks to me. I just love being there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I've been all around for the past 3 years, and but I would say Thailand is definitely my up there on the most favorite. It probably is the most favorite country, I think.
Yeah. Every time I see something Thailand related or hear anything, it's like my heart does this like mini jump in my chest because I get so excited about all of it.
Me too.
I don't get that about other places in this world,
No, I do get that a little bit with Penang in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been there before?
Fantastic place. Yes. Visa runs.
I love that place.
Visa runs to Penang are my favorite.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite places to go.
Yeah.
And
for visa runs. Yeah. It's great because you have the amazing food. You have this interesting cultural clash in Penang. You have like Indian culture in there. You have Malaysian culture there. You definitely have an overlap of Thai culture there, and it's just a very interesting intersection of cultural interferences, I would say.
Yeah, and you get all those foods. Like, I'm a bit of a foodie, so you get like really good Chinese food, really good Indian food, and it's just one of those crazy cities where the prices are really low and everything's really modern and clean. I actually went to a Michelin-starred restaurant there just for the sake of it, and
really, they have one there. I have to go.
Yeah, they have one there. It's like a Cantonese restaurant, and I just read that somewhere. I thought, I'm here on holiday. I might as well go do it. And I got the bill at the end, and it was like $10.
I'm definitely going next time.
Yeah,
amazing.
so
I know when I went there for the first time, I was because it had been a few years that I'd been in India, and I walked in and I was so excited that I could just go and get idli, like really good idli. And it just made me so happy that you had that huge variety of food that really excited me. And I'm only there to wait for my passport, so you just have to wait a couple of days for that to be done. And in the meantime, you just eat yourself across the town.
Yeah.
It's
right? Literally just a little food holiday.
Yeah. You weigh a little bit more, you're a little bit more tired when you get back, but you're definitely happy.
Yeah. Another good place for that is Siem Reap in Cambodia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you been there before?
Yeah, I have. Not for visa run, but just to pop in and out a couple of times. Yeah, and see Angkor Wat. But sometimes I go to Siem Reap, but not to go to Angkor Wat at all. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I just went there. No, it wasn't really at the top of the list.
Uh-huh.
But I just wanted to go somewhere new because I'd already been to Vietnam 3 times, for example, and my friend told me it's actually pretty good. And then I just had a food holiday the whole week, just eating. Just going to so many restaurants because it's one of those countries where it's been colonized by France at some point. So, of course, the food and the coffee is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I got that in Phnom Penh for sure. I like
I've never been
quite a
there.
bit. Yeah, I like quite a bit. Yeah, it's for the same reason. I think I'm very food oriented. As long as I can eat myself across a plate, and I can just eat all day long, then I'm happy. And yeah, I thought, yeah,
Yeah, I'm the same.
because of that, Phnom Penh is fantastic. Siem Reap is a little too touristy for me because a lot of the big hotels, it just pains my soul to see that amount of big hotels take up all the water resources that are desperately needed by the environment and people living
Oh,
there.
that's interesting. I've
Yeah,
never thought about that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's sort of where Siem Reap pains my soul, where I think, oh, it's just sad that because of Angkor Wat, the big hotels came and they're taking up all the water supplies that's really needed in the country, and it's just I can't overlook it. You know, like it's too
Yeah,
hard. It's too hard for me to look away.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's crazy. That's interesting about Phnom Penh because I've always avoided that because I just think of giant traffic jam.
Really?
But yeah, so I bet maybe I should try it.
Yeah, I mean, check it out. I think the beauty of what makes Phnom Penh so special to me is that I like I have a fascination with the dark side of humanity because it does make us who we are, and it does make us sort of the wholehearted beings if we learn to embrace it. And Phnom Penh definitely has done sort of an extraordinary job to not forget the genocides and but incorporating it into its culture and living forward and sort of look to me. I mean, maybe that was also the people that I was there with and why I was there, but to really take a look at how how history has changed, and without forgetting, let's not forget the people we lost within that dictatorship and what we can learn from it, and I think that combined with a very interesting culture and culinary environment that's really incredible. I
So,
thought it's definitely worth a visit.
so
Hmm.
when you say they've made it really important to still be aware of that cultural history and
Hmm.
really significant things that happened there in the past, can you give me some specific examples of how they do that?
How they do that? The museums, the way they reconstructed it, the Genocide Museum, for example. The
Okay.
Yeah, and also it's when you go, and I'm a history buff in that sense anyway, and I always want to learn history within its cultural context today and where it was. I thought it was really good to see that it's about not looking away and understanding the sadness of what it was and what it can mean today by learning from it, right? Like where do
Sure.
and I
It
think
definitely needs to be confronted head on.
yeah, it's not just the confrontation of it, it's also the modern day contextualizing it. So, being German, that's probably something really important to me by nature or culturally in our own cultural context, to really look at what did we learn
Hmm.
from that? Like what did we learn from it and how can we not repeat it? Like do not look away, accept
Yeah,
shame
absolutely.
for it, accept the hard shame that comes from it so that we can move forward. Because the danger of pretending it didn't happen, which you see in many cultural contexts of many countries, is that it creates a dark side of humanity where people are prone to look away and defensive, and there's
Hmm.
an openness and contextualizing and awakeness to its cultural context if you are willing to stay awake.
Yeah. Just randomly, that's one of the principles in Ray Dalio's best-selling book right now, which
Yeah,
is to embrace radical
yeah,
honesty.
yeah. I mean,
It's very
I
important.
agree. I think it's fundamental. I think it's a huge reason why Germany is what it is today, and I think it's definitely for me as a human being to stay awake. It's something I struggle with in different cultures when I'm confronted with their need to look away and whitewash the truth because the uncomfortable
Hmm.
truth is so inconvenient that and because it backfires, like the uncomfortable truth on any level as a human being, creates shame and isolation and defensiveness and separation, while accepting the uncomfortable truth and letting yourself be seen with all your shame is the only way to move forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not just, that goes through many levels. That's at the personal level, business level, and then also the political and cultural level is such a powerful concept to just be completely honest. It is really quite, it's so significant.
Yeah, it is 100%. And so I think what I learned about in Cambodia was just one of those in that context, right? That the Khmer Rouge and, its regime and, what happened and what came afterwards and what it is today was, for me, fell within that cultural experience and that context that I will never forget, So I would say, anyway, long story, we're totally veered off the subject here, which happens sometimes, which I think is beautiful. It's worth a visit. So anybody that hasn't been, I would recommend going. It's a beautiful place to go, learn and understand history and countries in its context today. So tell me, going back to what we were talking about before, well, what do you, I don't think we've introduced this, but what do you actually do and what are you working on?
Okay. I am an author and an SEO professional. I've been doing technical SEO for well over 7 years now. And what other SEOs would say since from way back when it was easy.
Right.
SEO
was it easy at some
SEO
point?
was like ridiculously easy 7 years ago. But yeah, so I have the #1 best-selling book on Amazon, and thank my lucky stars, it's been still ranked at #1 for the past 5 years.
Oh, really? What's the name of your book? Tell us so we can put a link below. Because I think, like myself, many people don't think SEO is easy.
Sure. It's SEO 2018 or SEO 2018, Adam Clarke on Amazon. But it also comes up #1 if you search for, if you just go to the search box at Amazon and search for SEO or search for search engine optimization. It's the book that comes up #1.
Cool. So quick question. Did you call it SEO 2018 5 years ago?
No, I actually change the title every year.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Do you update it every year with the latest and greatest information?
I actually update it almost every business quarter or every 6 months, depending on how many things have changed. Because the SEO landscape really does change quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
every time I think I spent some time with it and learned how to understand it, it's so different that the next time I look at it, that I question my ability to understand things. I think it's a very fast moving subject.
Yeah, absolutely, and that can get a bit tiring. Actually, it's not like a craft when like woodwork or something.
Right.
When you just kind of perfect something over a lifetime and it just stays the same. But yeah, it's constantly changing, and I guess the concept of the book is that I'm aware of that, so I try and update it as often as I can. So it should be the most relevant resource. Yeah. And it's really important for it to be relevant, because if you're using techniques from 12 months ago, you can actually run into a Google spam filter and get banned from the results.
Really interesting. Fascinating. The things that I don't know.
Yeah.
So if you were to give somebody sort of like a short summary of what are the easiest things to understand and the best practices to think about when you think about SEO, because in this day and age, like creating visibility online is kind of mission critical, and it's hard to do because it's such a crowded space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people have a misconception in thinking that it's difficult, but it definitely has its challenges. But I think it's more about having the right knowledge and knowing where to start.
Where
And I would
Where would
say
you
to
tell me to
someone
start
where
with my
to
website?
well, firstly, I would say I would study up on the Google ranking factors. So, the top 10 things that Google use in their algorithm to determine which sites rank high and which sites rank low. There are actually a couple of firms that have released white papers on this. And I can tell you the top 10 ranking factors right now,
Yes.
if you like.
Yes, please. I do actually. Yes.
Cool. Okay. So from the white paper by a firm called Search Metrics, their most recent ranking factors study, what they observed is the top 10 ranking factors are: one is content relevance. That just means that the content of the page must be relevant to what the person is searching for. Two is click-through rate, which is the amount of people that are clicking on your list in the results. Number three is time on site. This is a pretty new factor and might seem a bit strange for someone that's not technically minded, but time on site just means how much time is someone spending on the page? Are they engaged? Do they find the information useful?
Yeah.
Or are they just on the page for half a second and then clicking the back button back to the search results? And that would indicate that the page is not offering a lot to the user.
Yeah, I know about time on site because I worked with a client that were launching. Yeah, they were launching a plugin to design engaging content easier, so that people would spend more time on content because well-designed content engages longer. That's why I know that one point.
Yes.
I feel very proud of myself right now.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm impressed. No, that's it's becoming more and more important for organizations to be aware of these things. So yes, and time and site really is becoming, well, it's number 3 on the list. So it wasn't number 3 on the list a few years ago. So that's definitely something quite interesting.
Yeah, would you actually agree that well-designed content will increase engagement? I mean, we've seen it, so I've seen it because we have definitely measurable metrics to support that claim. That if it's well-designed and interesting, people will spend more time on it because they like looking at it or engaging with it.
Sure. What do you mean when you say well-designed?
Well, if you do a blog post, right? And and it's got content that's relevant to whatever information people are looking for, then and you just have an image, text, maybe an advert, an ad in between, or images in between, versus well-designed contents where the colors are different, where maybe you have icons moving about, where you have something to click on and scroll and go back and forth. That ordinarily, like, remember when New York Times brought out Snowflake and it was this first interactive post ever, and people went crazy because it was so interesting. But it took like 6 months and 15 people to design it.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah. So, having an interactive, interesting content display will increase engagement and time on site. And so what my clients did, they created a plugin for WordPress sites, and other sites could be customized, where you can design content with images and layouts and icons to move around, so that, you will increase user engagement with your content faster, more effectively, by designing content and not being just forced to posting text with pictures and some ad.
Sure. I think I absolutely agree with that strategy, and that's almost like a not really a growth hacking strategy, but it's I guess it could be if you're creating viral content that everyone's sharing and they're spending lots of time on. That's almost a growth hacking strategy. But even just quality content. So if people are filling up their sites with outsourced articles with poorly written English compared to a blog post that's really well researched and it has references and it's really well written, it covers the topic broadly, it answers many questions, and it's just clearly well written, that will always beat out the website that has the low quality content, and that can actually be reflected through the time on site metric.
Mm.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be interactive content. It absolutely can, and I'm sure that would be much more massively effective than just a long form blog post.
Right.
But you can increase the time on site just by having just good quality content, or just more specifically looking at what your competitors are doing in their content, and just figuring out how do you increase that quality, and how do you answer the searcher's question a bit better than them.
Yeah.
And you can get a better time on site metric just that way.
Interesting. Okay. And if I'm fascinated by this topic, so personally, I'm like, okay, making notes. What's number 4? What's number 4?
Number 4 is quite a big one, and that is having an SSL security certificate installed on your website.
Yep. Got that.
Yeah.
I'm going through a personal checklist. You're like, done. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty big because all the security, government surveillance programs, hacking, and it's an initiative by Google in making the whole web more secure, and they have publicly come out and stated that if you have an SSL certificate installed on your site, you're going to get a boost in the results. So that's a pretty easy win from where I'm coming from. I think if they've come out and said that it's going to give you a big boost, you might as well install it. It's good for the users. It's a win-win. So that's an easy one to cross off the list.
Perfect. What's the next one?
The next one is a bit counterintuitive, but it's font size in content area.
Tell me more.
Which is it's really strange. I don't actually know so much about this one. It's one of those things where they say the ranking factor surveys aren't saying that it is necessarily technically a ranking factor. It's just more that these things are correlated with higher search results. So my guess would be this one means that fonts with if the font size is a bit bigger and it's a bit more readable, people it's much easier for them to read on their iPads and so on, as opposed to tiny little text. It's not very readable, and and I think that goes back to that time on site metric. So I think it's a readability thing.
Agreed. What are we looking for? 8? No. What number are we?
No, I think we're on to 6, which is number of images.
How many do you need? 2, 3?
I would like to have 2 or 3 at a minimum. But there's no exact rule. But I guess going back to what you're saying about earlier about making the content more engaging, if your page has more images, it has more videos, it's clearly offering a richer experience to the user, and that's part of the algorithm that can push you up. So that's an easy win if you're trying to rank higher than somebody else in a blog post. Put in a couple more images in your blog post than that person has, and you might move up.
Yep. Perfect.
And I think I will do the next 3 all in one because they're kind of all the same thing. So 7, 8, and 9 is Facebook activity, Pinterest activity, and 9 is tweets. So I think we can all lump those all together as social activity.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Because I think Searchmetrics said in their study that more and more these days links are becoming less important, and people are more or less digesting content on the move with their smartphones and sharing things socially. So this would be a better indication that the page is more valuable than links, which are probably less commonly used than social signals. So that's why they're so important.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
That brings me to the last one, which is number of backlinks.
Ooh, tell me more about backlinks. Yes, how many do I need? I've been trying to build them in, but it's really hard.
you need 17.5. No, there's literally no. Backlinks are it's such a broad topic. You could easily cover like 2 podcasts talking about backlinks. But I would say one way to look at it is to have more than your competitors.
Okay.
But that's not going to work if you have more links that are like, then you have more links than your competitor and they're really low quality links. So you've just gone out and built 500 links on link directory websites. That's not going to make you beat your competitor. So there's a few kind of different angles to it. I would say link building overall in the SEO community has moved to a content marketing type approach.
Yeah.
Which means people are creating, they're blogging more, they're creating link bait articles like infographics and that type of thing. And they're also guest posting on other sites. So firstly, by creating like high value content like infographics, white papers, these types of content automatically get backlinks in. And then by contributing on other websites, which should be authoritative blogs in the same niche, you can get backlinks back to your website that way.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Thank you, Adam. This was awesome. Very informative. I've taken some notes to make sure that I do all of this right. I think I'm actually not doing too bad on all of the above. I really appreciate it. So we're going to put the links to find your book and everything that we talked about below this podcast. I can't thank you enough for making the time. This was actually quite the insightful SEO conversation. We veered off into cultural context and our love for Southeast Asia, which I really loved. So thank you for making the time. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye.
Great. Thanks so much. Bye.
That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us and thank you for your ongoing support. Before I leave you, I want to invite you into my world. Please go check out dnxcommunity.com. This is where you'll find the other nomads and evaders of convention. We'll see you there. And if you're interested in our English-speaking events, go and check out dnxglobal.com. You'll find the link below this podcast as well. And if you have time, one last favor, please go to iTunes, look for Sylvia Chrisman or look for the DNX podcast and leave a review. Thank you so much, lovely people, and I'll talk to you next time.